Throughout his filmography, Christopher Nolan has become synonymous with complex, mind-bending thrillers that typically require multiple viewings to completely understand. His stylistic approach to filmmaking has made him one of the most influential and popular filmmakers in Hollywood. As his 10th feature film Tenet takes closer to its release, it is no secret that Nolan, once again, is revolving its plot around the concept of time, not too dissimilar from projects like Inception and Interstellar. While Nolan's most famous and stylistic work play with the notion of our understanding of time, even his films of lesser profile use the concept of time in one way or another. From his earlier works like Memento, to the Dark Knight trilogy, to his most recent film Dunkirk, Nolan and his team have been manipulating time through nonlinear storytelling and use time as an antagonist within his narratives as a means to question human nature and our relationship with reality.
Every magic trick consists of 3 parts, or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary, a deck of cards, a bird, or a man. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you to inspect it, to see that it is indeed real, unordinary, normal. But of course, it probably isn't. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. Now, you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it. Because, of course, you're not really looking. You don't really want to know. You want to be fooled.
Many of Nolan's movies include separate intercutting timelines and a nonlinear story structure, which converge at a specific climactic point. This is especially the case with Nolan's first 2 feature-length films, Memento and Insomnia. In these films, each protagonist suffers through a certain condition that shrouds their mental state. In Memento, Leonard struggles with amnesia after an incident, while in Insomnia, Al Pacino's character Dormer suffers from the titular issue. Both characters' judgments are clouded as a result of their respective conditions, and neither of them can discern fantasy with true objective reality. Leonard believes he is hunting those who assaulted and murdered his wife, when in reality he accidentally killed his wife after injecting her with too much insulin.
You don't want the truth. You make up your own truth, like your police file. It was complete when I gave it to you. Who took out the 12 pages?
You, probably.
No, it wasn't me. See, it was you.
Why would I do that?
To create a puzzle you could never solve?
Dormer can no longer remember whether he shot his partner during a siege accidentally or purposefully.
Did you mean to shoot Hap?
I don't know anymore.
Going beyond the narrative, the intercutting timelines and nonlinear story structure serve to visually represent the shrouded mentality of each of the characters. This adds another layer of immersion, as like the characters, the audience is also confused and their reality warped as a result of the film's nonlinear structure. This idea extends to Nolan's pinnacle film, Inception. In the film, Cobb is unable to determine the difference between reality and his dreams. His mentality and judgment, like that of Leonard and Dormer, are clouded, and objective reality indiscernible. The nonlinear structure of the film, as well as the intercutting timelines of each of the dreams, makes it difficult for the audience to concretely identify whether or not what they are seeing is true objective reality or the subjective reality of Cobb. Because the audience is unsure of which reality they are witnessing, it causes them to question everything they've seen. In other films that deal with nonlinear storylines, most notably Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, we know, at the end, that what we are witnessing are not flashbacks, but flashes of Louise's future. We know we are experiencing this through her perspective because of such lines as,
I don't understand. Who is this child?
But with Inception, we are not told what is the objective reality. We aren't given any answers, nor lines of dialogue confirming our beliefs, only a spinning top. In his earlier work and Inception, Nolan removes the layer of trust audiences give to the filmmaker. Usually, we expect our movies to be linear and chronological, trusting that they play out in front of us in the same manner as we encounter our own daily lives. However, when it is revealed that what we have watched was indeed not chronological, we are left to fit the puzzle together. Like Leonard, Dormer, and Cobb, our reality becomes warped, and we become no longer sure if we can trust what we have just experienced. Our subjective reality now precedes our objective sense of reality. We see the negative effects that time also brings onto people. For example, the passage of time causes Leonard, Dormer, and Cobb to become more diluted and disconnected from reality. We see how the 8 years between the last two Dark Knight movies have impacted Gotham, with the police turning their back on Commissioner Gordon and Bruce losing his strength and influence, ultimately leading to the rise of Bane. Time also forces characters to take actions. More specifically, a lack of time forces characters to take actions. The characters are always working against time, whether it is Batman trying to save Rachel or Gotham from a ticking time bomb, Cooper trying to get back home to his daughter, or the British soldiers rushing to get home. By forcing characters to take immediate action in order to evade the impacts of time, Nolan is able to examine the true morality of his characters. These themes of morality are more present in his later works, specifically The Prestige, Dark Knight Trilogy, Interstellar, and Dunkirk. In The Prestige, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale's characters engage in a moral game of chess, each traversing across the boundary of what is deemed acceptable in the realm of magic in order to gather more audience members for their spectacle. We are shown the lengths the men will go in order to one-up each other. The men go from killing birds to hijacking each other's shows before allowing their acts to completely encapsulate their own lives. Bale's character allows his wife and children to suffer, while Jackman's character willingly murders his own doubles and lets Bale take the blame for the sake of competition.
You're not afraid to get your hands dirty anymore, are you?
No, not anymore. And I win. Because no one cares about the man in the box, the man who disappears.
You win. This ain't a bloody competition anymore, Angier. This is my little girl's life.
The third acts of both Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises revolve around a ticking clock, with the Joker and Bane both threatening the sanctity of Gotham via explosives. In both cases, Bruce must act decisively, and it is with these actions that the audience is able to view the moral code of the Caped Crusader. In The Dark Knight, Bruce is stretched to his moral limits, creating a device to spy on the citizens of Gotham in order to maintain and protect social order. He responds to the Joker's radicalism with that of his own. In its sequel, we see Bruce emerge from the Lazarus Pit and risk his life in return to Gotham, despite the impending explosion of a nuclear bomb, in order to save and restore a sense of hope to Gotham, the same city that previously criminalized him. In Interstellar, we see the lengths Cooper will go in order to save his family from Earth's impending collapse. He races against the clock in order to find new planets suitable for human civilization. But when he realizes he won't be able to save Earth, he decides instead to abandon his mission and return home. It isn't until he desperately enters the wormhole as a means to cheat time that he discovers how to save humankind. Dunkirk serves as Nolan's encapsulation of moral evaluation. With this film, Nolan sought to create a survival film rather than a war film. Rather than have the soldiers engage in battle against the Germans, Nolan has the British survive against the restraints of time. This idea is represented in terms of the score. The film score done by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch revolve around the ticking of a clock. Not only is this used to create a foreboding feeling of dread for the audience, but it reminds them of the movie's central conflict regarding time. With every tick of the clock, we are reminded that the men are closer towards annihilation. We see the men become more desperate to get home, sacrificing each other in order to obtain a selfish sense of safety. At the same time, we see the home front selflessly risking their lives and sailing across the English Channel in order to save their soldiers. It is because a lack of time, a call to action, which forces the characters to act, in which we are able to see the morality of Nolan's protagonists. However, as is the case with the aspect of reality, he never overtly suggests whether or not the actions of any character to be moral, leaving it up to the viewer to make that decision for themselves. And keeping the moral resolution of his films ambiguous, Nolan also forces the audience to question their own sense of morality. Ultimately, time plays a major role in Nolan's movies. From his non-linear editing style to the narrative content of his movies, he plays with time in ways other directors have yet to fully achieve. By forcing the audience to ask questions about their reality and immorality, Nolan has enticed an entire generation of moviegoers, becoming one of the most beloved and powerful directors of the modern era. Audiences will only have to wait and see how he uses time to his advantage in Tenet, and if there will be another decade-long debate about its ending.